Merhaba loud. So people ask me why I like to read books, and there's three reasons why. The first reason has to do with the fact that it's just really pleasurable for me to read books. Okay, so a lot of people, when they begin to read books, have this issue where reading is more about impulse control rather than actually reading, because they haven't really established the habit. And then on top of that, when you introduce them to the idea that there's a difference between just reading a page, like reading a book, page by page, like just scanning the words and not really interpreting a deep meaning, and that is that kind of reading as opposed to reading very deeply, where you pay attention to how, to what detail an adjective modifies a noun, to what extent a verb indicates some kind of relationship between two nouns. When you pay attention to those small details, that's a really difficult and different type of reading that actually takes time to learn. And so, of course, some people are going to view reading as not fun because they haven't spent a lot of time reading and developing that skill to a point of it being second nature. Therefore, they don't see it as pleasurable. So because I've passed that impulse stage, and a lot of people have passed that impulse stage, and once you get past that impulse control stage of trying to just focus on the book, then it becomes really fun. Now, the reasons why it's fun are twofold, and these are the other two reasons why I like reading. The second one has to do with creating like models of the world. What's really entertaining about reading is you can pick up a book, right? Let's say you're going to pick up two philosophy books, or two law books, or two economics books. You can pick up two separate books and have two different models of the world contained in those books. I guess a good example might be is if you pick up like a book on realist philosophy, you're going to pick up a book that views the world as a subject, an object, and that there's objective relationships between the subjects and objects, or maybe between the objects and objects, and those relationships can be known. That's one way of viewing the world. However, comparative to that, you can pick up a solipsistic book where there is no objects, that everything is subject, that everything you see before you exists inside your own consciousness, right? That you are the universe. That's more of a solipsistic worldview. And so you have these two worldviews contained inside books that you can pick up and then you can use to map the world in front of you, right? You can use it to create different conceptions of the world. And I think that's really cool and that's really creative and fun. It's creating these models of the world that you can use to explain things in different ways. The third thing is that reading is very much like meditation. If you consider like what meditation really is, at least the way I learned it, it was a repetitive task that had a lot of focus on minute details. One of the ways I learned to meditate was that if you have this, you imagine that when you inhale, you have a candle inside your stomach that gets brighter when you inhale, and it gets dimmer when you exhale. Okay, and so that's something repetitive, and you're focusing on it a lot. Another way of meditating is to focus on sensations and notice the details of those sensations. But I found that you had to constantly remind yourself that you had to focus on these details and so on and so forth. The point being is that it's repetitive and involved a deep focus. The same holds true for reading. When you're reading, you're focusing on words, which is going to be repetitive, right? Like you'll probably see the word the, is, the, or if, and quite a few times. And you have to really focus deeply to get the meanings behind those words. And after an hour or two of just focusing on ideas and exploring ideas, there is like a very euphoric state that you get. The same thing with meditation as well. You get like a euphoric state after a while. You could even say that it's comparable to like, instead, if you replace the senses when you're meditating with words, then when you're focusing on the senses, you just get sensations, but when you're focusing on the words, you just get the ideas. So there's a lot of similarities here. So the point being is reading is like meditation, at least for me, and I really enjoy the feeling I get after 2 or 3 hours of deep, focused reading. So to recap, the 3 reasons why I read is 1, it's pleasurable, 2, it lets me create mental models for the world that I enjoy, and 3, it's like meditation. Those are the 3 reasons why I enjoy reading, and with that being said, choose.